Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Grow Your Law Firm podcast here with Ken Hardison. And today we have the honor of having Hamid Kohan with LegalSoft. Hello, my friend. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Ken?
Doing great. So we talked about it. He's been on our show before, and he's always got a lot to add, and I appreciate that, Hamid. So today we want to talk about AI, like everybody's talking about it. I guess just in general, let's just talk about your take on what's happened in the last 10, 12 months since all this stuff started. I guess it's when it started November, so about 15 months ago, 16 months ago.
Yeah, it's pretty much a start. I've been in AI probably for more than 10 years, but I never thought it would pop up this fast this way, the way
Right.
it popped. It just sort of popped. Just like I remember the dot-com era, when the dot-com just popped up and everybody got caught by surprise about what the heck is this dot-com thing? Do you mean I have to buy stuff online? And do you mean I have to sell stuff online? How does that even possible or works or whatever? But we see where we are now with all of that, and nobody even thinks about it. It's like not going to the store and buying something. It kind of seems weird because why didn't you use online for everything? Why are you going to the store for? I think AI is a perfect example of one of those things. It's been in the works for a long time. Anything from military to big corp, finance, all been using it in the background, not naming it AI. They're naming it decision support, data mining, data warehousing, data analytics, all of that stuff. But now somebody came up and just says, well, it's AI now. So we all got to get on that bandwagon. So what is that going to do to the legal side? About a year and a half ago at LegalSoft, we knew virtual staffing, we do marketing, we do all of that stuff. We started a company called Practice AI for that specific purpose because we knew it's going to hit hard and it's going to hit fast. So first, to find out what's the impact of the AI in the legal industry, I actually published a book last year about how to scale instead of the original one, how to scale your stupid law firm, I scratched the stupid and said how to scale your AI law firm. So it went from stupid to AI very, very quickly, just like big shift. I feel like I just got to write this thing down so I don't have to answer the basic questions about it. So all of this happened because of, Even Up coming up all of a sudden from nowhere and say, let AI do your demand, which is when you're talking about the practice of personal injury practice, like everybody knows about, the demand is almost in the middle, if not toward the end. So I don't know how they sort of decided to just come in the middle of the process and do a project. And they done a fairly good job. And a year and a half ago, when we started the AI company as part of a LegalSoft enterprise, we said, why are we starting in the middle? I mean, we started in the middle also because of market conditions. So we do have our AI demand writing system also available that we developed from scratch. And it's not just a ChatGPT wrap. It's actually AI trained in thousands of pre-existing demands that were completed and settled. So I have this thing about AI PI, which I think the AI initially should be used for client acquisition. When you go to all these lead generation folks, they have limited experience, limited exposure to PI, limited into Meta versus Google and all of that stuff. And a lot of it is a guessing game. So if you take the AI from the initial stages and with all the data and analytics that is available, we can pinpoint and narrow down exactly what demographic is our target, in what area, what's the cost of client acquisition, what's the best performing ad, being the graphic, messaging, videos. AI could be the combination of 1,000 of these marketing companies and media companies and so forth, who each try different things based on the experience and the data they have. AI can just wrap it up and say, Hamid, you need to run this kind of ad with this message to this demographic with this budget at this time. Why? Because now I have 10 years of data to go by. And I just analyze all of those overnight, and I'm telling you, this is exactly what you need to do. So it reduces cost of the client acquisition probably to less than 1/3 of what we're paying today. So that's the first initial AI that we are doing with targeting, help targeting who do I need to serve what ad to at what time in what shape or form. Then the second part, everybody struggles with the intake, right? I need bilingual intake. I'm 24/7. I need them to be trained in the PI versus employment versus criminal, whatever. And I need them to be available and be able to retain those clients for me. One of the first challenge of those is train people. Well, the AI intake not only is going to be trained better than any in-person AI, intake staff exists, including all the virtual staff that we provide from LegalSoft, can speak 120 languages, and it can, weird enough, it can even look like a human being that average person cannot tell if this is really a person or is an avatar like, right? Now we got this AI intake who can talk to you in any language, knows exactly what to ask, knows what exactly the question is, and when the answers comes, he can analyze against the previous set of data to say the best answer to these questions with this person, with that demographic is yes.
Yeah. You know, I was doing one of my masterminds in February down in Key West, and one of our lawyers was working with Air, I think it's Air.ai, and he played where he had I guess you call it AI intake person. Avatar.
Right.
Called a client, talked to him, and it was crazy. The guy would say, that's a great question. So here at Hardison and Cochran, we do this and we do that, and our lawyers are training this. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. And then I think right after that meeting, the FTC or FCC, something come out with something, say, hey, you can't do that unless you let people know you're doing it or something. I'm not quite sure, but they come out with something. But I talked to some people and they said, you can still use it. You just got to do.
Yeah, you have to, just like everything else about AI came out, there has to be some regulations. There needs to be certain disclosures. Then all of that stuff needs to happen because you don't want to fool anybody with AI stuff and pretending that it's the people. But all they care about is is disclosed, is clear to the client, to the audience. But once you pass that, the AI intaker can do the best. Eventually, if it's not today, 3 years from now, we'd be surprised if anybody in an advanced law firm that has real people answering calls or dialing out and calling people. It's got to be AI. So now you got the client generation. Now you got the intake. What's next with the PI? Well, the injury comes in. You report the insurance. You set everybody up for treatments. You put the car in the shop. Every single one of these things is really a task of AI. It knows what the injury is. Again, the good thing is that it knows from hundreds of thousands of similar cases in the past that were successful cases. So it says this kind of injuries needs to go to this 5 medical provider, needs to take 2 MRIs, 1 CAT scan, blah, blah, blah. So that's a case management AI, which most CRMs have to have. If they don't, there's going to be people like LegalSoft who's going to have it. Because I'm looking at, all this AI is coming up and it's getting so confusing. So we got ad generation, we got intake, we got case management, we got document collection, medical record collection. You're calling a whole bunch of places, sending them email, calling them and telling them, give me this document. That's the simplest thing that AI can do, is just collect documents and scan them in and then do a medical record summary, do the demand, even publish what the lien reduction is going to be for the PI. So the purpose that I did this in LegalSoft is that I noticed with the way the market is going, you have to use like 8 different services, log into 8 different places, and then you need to connect them together. You need to import them, integrate them. So I said, look, that's not practical. Law firms just can't do that. They can barely log into 2 places. Now you give them 8 more places. After they're logging into their CRMs, being FileVine, Clio, Litify, those guys,
Right.
they're not going to log into any other place, So I said, let's give them a tool that is a to Z AI for the law firm and per practice type. So AI for PI, but that actually rhymes pretty well. And then do AI for employment, AI for labor, all of that stuff. So it's easy to use and easy to navigate. So that's our mission right now with this whole AI thing. We have about 15 AI hardcore developers right now that are just developing AI for the law.
So are you in the beta or have you actually launched anything yet?
We're in beta for the demands, again, because the market came out of the demand. So we were forced to actually do the demand because that's where the market went. I wouldn't have gone that way if that wasn't already out there. So we have our demand, but now we're working on our intake and ad campaigns because I need to glue them all together into a workflow process that, I had this dream that I make this machine that you push this button and get a case, and you push this button and get a check, and then I said, I have a PI firm. It's like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So, I was thinking, like you said, AI has been around and haven't been calling that, but like Google's been using that for years to figure out the algorithms and how to sell more ads for the PPC and everything to get lawyers and other people to buy more ads. And Facebook does the same thing. I mean, they all do it, right?
Absolutely. I give you an example, real life example. I used to do data mining and data warehousing management. About 30 years ago, I did this project for National City Bank and the Bank and the American Express, which somebody called and applied for a credit card. We did a data mining between all the history of every single clients that they had. And with this algorithm, with 87% accuracy, we could tell the operator, you can extend Ken a credit card with $5,000 limit only, 87% accuracy that he's going to make his payment, and 30% prediction that he's going to miss his payment in about 9 months, and the whole thing. So that, how you think these operators were doing it when you call and ask for a new credit card with $10,000 limit, and they ask about your demographic information and income and blah, 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 and they just push a button and say, okay, Ken, you're eligible to get $10,000 line of credit. It was all AI because AI went in there, researched everybody like Ken, and then managed their behavior and came back and say, yep, you can give Ken 10,000, you can give Hamid 5,000, or you can reject this guy because my analysis shows that in the next 90 days, he's going to miss a payment.
That's wild.
It's all predictive analysis that was used doing it. And this is 30 years ago.
So do you ever see it being used to evaluate the value of a case?
Absolutely.
Like personal injury? I would think that we would be able to do that, right?
Look, anything that an attorney does outside of norm of the law process, like you have lots and lots of attorney friends, and they come to you, this is the bragging right they get. They go to all these mixers. I've been to some of your mixers, and they come and say this, oh, yesterday I talked to this guy, I got this case signed up, it's at least $3 million case, right? They do this all day long. Oh, they go home, hey, honey, I just signed up this client, it's a great day. It's a 1.5 minimum case. What do they do that say that? Because they've seen it around, they've seen it with their friends, they've seen it in the community. So based on that very limited information they have in their head about the historical data, they conclude that this is a $1 million case.
Yeah.
Now imagine if that data was actually accurate and it was based on 10,000 similar cases. But
yeah, I mean, you think about it, that's what the insurance started using many years ago, was a thing called Colossus, which was nothing more than pulling all their data and saying, we know this type of case in this area is going to pull out this much with a jury, and so we're not going to pay it, or we know that this type of law firm will accept this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Attorneys don't admit it though, Ken. If you're asking them, estimate these cases, how the heck I'm going to estimate these cases? I can't do that. You can't even ask me that. But they go home and they did it. And they go to the bar and they do it. But they ask you in the official settings, no. Nobody ever knows. You have to work the case. You have to do your discovery. You got to see the medical records and injury. But how come you just went home and told your wife that you got $1 million case? So my AI is going to be based on 10,000 cases, not the last 10 that I did in the last 10 years. That is
Right.
7, 8, 9-figure cases.
Well, I said it's going to change the way we practice law for sure. There's no
Right.
doubt about it. You could either stick your head in the sand and try to ignore it, or you can get on board. I just think, I've said this before, a lot of lawyers really got blistered when they didn't get on with the internet, and the younger lawyers did, and they were just killing it. They were getting all these big trucking cases, and these lawyers that really knew how to try these trucking cases couldn't understand why they weren't getting them. You know, they were crying, you know. But the deal is, this isn't anything. You cannot ignore change. You've got to pivot and go with the times.
Right.
You know,
That's exactly what I was going to say, Ken. You've been around long enough and wise enough to see this, is that they can't just watch the trains go by. This train is going by very fast. You're either going to be left at the station, and your colleagues, whoever it is, going to get on this train, and they're going to move forward. The train consists of all of this stuff: automations, technologies, virtual staffing. I have law firms, 2 similar law firms in LA of both size. One is operating like 40 in-house staff and 60 virtual staff. The other firm is doing like 100% in-house, 100 local staff, right? And I look at the numbers and profitability and all the HR and employment costs, and it's like one's profit margin is exactly twice as much as the other guy's profit margin, because he's using all virtual staff. Because this guy just sits around and says, what is this BS about virtual staff? I want all my people in my office working right next to me. Well, that train went by, you missed it, you didn't get on board.
yeah.
Now AI is the same thing. You know, CRMs was the same thing. People who didn't jump on Clio and Filevine and Litify and K-Spears and stuff, they're still using Google Sheets, Excel sheets, blah, 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 blah. They are left behind.
I got a question, because this is something I've had a couple of lawyers when I preach about going with virtual. I think doing virtual staff and AI is the 2 game changers, and you got to get on board with both of those. If you don't, you know, I mean, I think you can increase your, like you say, double your margins. But here's what the lawyers asked me, and I want you to give an answer. I gave my answer, but I want to see what your answer is. Well, man, I'm scared because, you know, I got all this sensitive information and medical records and about my clients, and there's people over there in another country. I mean, how can I be sure that they won't go in there and steal my stuff or crash?
How are they sure that the people in the office not doing it?
That's exactly what I said. I said, what's the difference? You know,
actually, there's another major difference. The people in the office, because they see the whole thing, they see the managing attorney just bought a $10 million house and an $800,000 car and this and that. They have much better understanding of the value of that data than anybody sitting in Ecuador, Philippines, or Colombia. They don't see this stuff. So to them, this data is not as valuable to market or to them than the guy actually sitting in the office. What's the biggest complaint of the paralegal working in the firm? I do all the work, my attorney makes all the money. Because they know, they see the numbers, they see the case comes in and it generates a $600,000, and they see the value of the case. The most cases that are taken away from the firm is from inside the firm, with the case managers, paralegals, receptionists who know the exact value of the data and the case and the client and the stuff. So they get more tempted to take those away or steal them than some poor virtual staff, you know, trying to make a living in Philippines.
Yeah. You know, you're funny though. I had a paralegal tell me that one time, you know, you may make all this money and you're paying me this. I said, there's got a law school right down the road, 8 miles. I said, I went, you can go too. I said, listen, it's why the doors are open. You know, the deal is, I went to school. I mean, I paid the money. I worked my ass off. I had to take the bar, and they're right to a certain degree, but that's a great thing about America. Anybody, the world is, don't matter if you're a poor guy. I mean, I was raised in a trailer house, Hamid, with no underpinning, you know, 10 by 60, you know. So don't tell me in America, you don't have to come from wealthy people. I mean, my parents, 4th grade, 8th grade education. I mean, if you go by what my parents did, I should be working in a factory. In America, if you want it, you can do it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And we have to learn from the big boys. Look, for how long the finance industry, banking industry, credit card industry is been using virtual staff all over the globe, tens and tens of thousands of them. And they have all of our financial information. They have our entire identity in their hand. My social, my birthday, my family's information, my home, my work, everything. And they've been doing it. You think American Express has all of their people sitting in New York or LA? No.
No.
80% of them are in freaking 5 different countries.
Yeah.
And
Amazon's got a big following in Costa Rica. I heard they got a great number of people in Costa Rica working for
Bank
Amazon.
of America, Morgan Chase, they all, Farmers Insurance, they all have them, but they were not sharing that information because they wanted to stay ahead of the competition. Now that is exposed, everybody knows everybody using virtual staffing, and the information they have is a lot more sensitive than a law firm has.
Yeah, you're right. Right. A good answer. Good answer. That was my take on it. I have no problem. Listen, I believe in it. I think it's a game changer. I think we wouldn't even be doing it if it wasn't for COVID. So I think there's a silver lining in COVID. I don't think nobody would have went virtual if it hadn't been for COVID. I mean, there'd be some. I was virtual before COVID. In 2018, I went virtual, and I did it out of necessity. I couldn't find good enough people in my hometown in Myrtle Beach because everybody comes down here and wants to party and retire. And I wanted smart people, and instead of fishing in a little pond, I'm fishing in the big friggin' ocean now.
Yeah.
I can cast a wider net. I've got better choices. I got more choices. I can get better people. I just think it's
absolutely. And look, there's a few other things element to it. Even in LegalSoft, we are a 400 people company, not including our agents that are placed into all this law firm, which is over 2,000. But my company itself has 400 people working for LegalSoft. 60 of them are in office, 340 of them are remote. There is no way I could have grown that fast if I had to depend on local resources. I still would be a company maybe with 75 people, not 400. One, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't find them. I couldn't keep them. All of the above. So I am my own largest client, right? Is literally, if I cancel my contract, LegalSoft being problem, I have a problem. So that's and the other thing about the security and the measures that we take for safety and security of the data and the staff is crazy. We capture 2,000 people's screens every 15 minutes. We know exactly every URL that they go visit. We record every single call. We have cybersecurity to make sure they're not working 2 places. All kinds of stuff is taken in place because we specialize in it. A few people working from home right now, a law firm A. Do you do any of that with them? How do you know your paralegal working from home is not working 3 jobs? Do you record their time? Do you record their calls? Nothing. Yeah. It's just okay. But when it comes to virtual, then everybody has these concerns. How? Well, start with your own virtual and in office. When they're working in 1 floor below you, you have no visibility what the heck they're doing all day.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, so those things.
Yeah. So you're going to be speaking at our summit in about, I think we're doing this on April 10th. So it'll be about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes, May 10th.
Yeah. What are you going to talk about?
Well, it's a few parts. Is that basically the new generation law practice, which is some of the stuff we just covered, being technology, automations, virtual staffing, the AI impact and being on the AI. And one of my thing is client retention. Is I always had a problem with working with the firms who would only have 2 happy days. The day they got the new client, the day they got the check. And they forget about everybody who they serviced for past 10, 15 years, right? So we have this process that says, okay, great, go get some new clients. But what do we do? What programs, what system, what marketing do we do to bring those 10,000 people back to the firm with their friends and family? Because that 10,000, now counting friends, families, colleagues, is 40,000. So how come you don't focus or have a formal program to get those 40,000 people into the firm?
Absolutely. That's what I call, I wrote a book about, I guess it's been close to 9 years ago now. And I talked about the 3 phases of marketing before representation, during representation, and after representation.
Yes.
And most lawyers only think about before representation. Some of them think about during, they want to give them a wow experience. Very little think about after. And why wouldn't you want to nurture that crowd that knows you, trusts you, like you, to either come back or refer people, versus going out there and spending a bunch of money to get people that don't know you, like you, trust you, to learn about you and hire you. It's going to cost you a lot more money. And I found that the referral cases are the better cases.
Absolutely.
Most people are not going to refer you a bad case unless they just don't know any better.
Right.
So I've been preaching on that for 20 years. I mean,
yeah.
Technology.
I know. Me and you are always on the same page on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I think technology is going to make it a hell of a lot easier. The way I did it was probably archaic now, but we did it the old-fashioned way with a lot of grassroots and emails and newsletters and but now with all this automation, you can sing happy birthday to them, and never even be you. I mean, it can be an avatar singing it sound just like you.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, if I was practicing law now, there'd be so many ways I'd have it where they could text me anytime if they got a question about anything, where I could refer me. But I mean, there's just so many ways now, and I don't even know all the software out there, to be honest with you. But that, I think, could be a big game changer.
Sure. With LegalSoft, we automate that entire process.
Really?
Then you go to 10 different softwares and 500 places. They get one client retention program with us. We do the SMS, the emails, the newsletters. Imagine I settled the case for you 3 years ago for $1 million. Imagine today there's the anniversary. You get a text from me and say, Ken, by the way, happy anniversary. It was 3 years ago that I handed you $1 million settlement check. What makes you feel when that happens? This guy remembers. This guy is good. Anything, hey, John, you should go talk to Hamid about, your PI case.
Yeah.
Because I just send you one text remembering something that is important in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We got some law firms that send letters, but the text will be a lot easier and cheaper.
A lot easier, a lot more personal, because it comes directly from me, not from the, Hamid.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think there's so many opportunities right now. I mean, and the deal is it's a lot cheaper to do it than the old fashioned way.
Oh, absolutely. It's no comparison. Everything that I just talked about right now, your monthly cost is less than $2,000-$3,000 to do all of this.
Wow.
Any traditional stuff, you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars in time and logistics to actually get it done.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Well, good deal, man. I look forward to seeing you at the summit. If anybody wants to contact you more about these different things you're working on and all these programs, that you've got, your software and your virtual staffing company, where do they need to go to, Hamid?
www.legalsoft.com. Every information is in there. My own personal bio and contact and direct contact information is in there. And we have a lot of legal expertise in-house. So legalsoft.com, if you go, you get everything you want.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you at the summit. And,
absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to the conference. We're going to have a great time.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Thank you.
Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.